Now that we've taken a crack at recording sound, let's turn our attention to the visual. One of the main reasons we're looking at mobile devices for this program is they make shooting video simple. They also make it simple to edit and share the video you record.
Can I use another camera? I have this fancy one that my friend lent me.
Cameras like DSLRs can take beautiful video, but they are more complicated to use. It'll take more time to learn the camera, and there's simply more that can go wrong. The camera on your smartphone and tablet is simple. You just need to open up the camera app, select video, and hit record. So as you can see, we've left the studio behind and we've gone to my home office, where for this next part, I'm only going to use the recommended equipment for this course, none of those fancy toys I have at the studio. So what's the secret to shooting good video? Ultimately, it boils down to one concept: being in control. How the video looks and sounds, how it turns out, is all based on decisions you make, whether you think about those decisions or not. So let's take a look at this setup I've got here. I like to think of this as kind of a selfie lecture since I'm talking at my phone. The first thing you'll notice is I have my phone on a tripod.
But it looks like you have a tabletop tripod. Why not just put it on top of a table?
That's a good point. Just because it is a tabletop tripod doesn't mean I need it on top of a table for this shot. This brings us to the first big decision you need to make while shooting video: the frame. The frame is what we call the edge of the video. Everything inside of the frame is what the viewer sees, and the viewer sees nothing that's outside of it. So how do you decide what's in your frame? Much of that's going to depend on what the subject of your video is. Is it some sort of demonstration, something you need to highlight? In this case, I'm talking at a camera, so I'm the subject. I like to start with thinking about the relationship between me and the camera being the same as between me and a student. How far away would that student be if I was teaching them one-on-one? Where would they be sitting or standing based on where I'm sitting or standing? In the same thought process, I like to have the camera similar to my subject's eye level. It doesn't have to be exactly, but you don't want to have to point the camera way up or way down so that you're looking down on your learners or they're looking down on you. So that's the frame. But not everything you can put in a frame is going to make for a good shot of video. And this brings us to the idea of lighting. Now, lighting is a big topic you could study in depth, but the basic nugget to start with is that light is your friend. More light is generally better for video, and you will never get good results in a dark room. But the biggest gotcha with lighting that you need to look out for is about the differences in amount of light. Our main culprit of this is our old friend, the sun. The sun is much brighter than any lighting you have in a building. And so when you have a window in your shot, your camera is not going to be able to accurately set for the amount of brightness outside and the amount of brightness inside. That brings us to the third thing you really need to focus on when planning your video, and that's sound. We talked about microphones last time, and you definitely want to use a microphone with your video. You also want to make sure you're recording in an area that doesn't have a lot of background noise. If you have a clock or something else making noise, turn it off, unplug it, take the batteries out. We've got our frame, our lighting, and our audio all set. It's time to hit record. When you're lecturing at a camera, try to maintain eye contact and keep on going, even if you get stuck and have to pause for a moment. Try not to think about the technology. Think about the learner who you're trying to reach out to, who you're trying to teach. Ultimately, reaching them is the goal of what you're doing here. And if you can think about reaching that student there, of getting yourself in that mindset, you will get better results. So when you're done, hit the red button again to stop recording. At this point, you definitely want to watch your recording. See if everything turned out right technically, and see if you like your performance. If you don't, just do it again now. The last thing you want is to sit down the next day to edit something and then realize the source material just isn't what you want it to be. That brings us to today's assignment. I want you to lecture at your camera for 20 to 30 seconds. Don't just ramble, aim to explain one idea or concept. Then review the footage and try again at least 2 more times. What can we take away from today's lesson? You can use your smartphone or tablet to quickly capture video that's easy to share and edit. You need to think about the frame you want. Does it show your subject? Does the background work for you? Look out for uneven lighting, especially from the sun. And don't forget about sound. Finally, always watch back your recording right away to make sure it turned out the way you wanted it to. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.